Good morning. It's May 18th, 2022. It's my first full day in Vietnam. We're currently in Hanoi, but today we're going to Ha Long Bay to do a cruise.
Though the cruise ended up being one of my favorite parts of the trip, at the time I complained to the boys about how touristy and decadent I found cruises. Once aboard, though, I tried to let those thoughts go and enjoy the experience.
There's a private balcony outside. And that's Ha Long Bay.
In the afternoon, we went to explore caves on one of the islands. After climbing a steep set of stairs and traversing through damp tunnels, we arrived at the main cave formation. I had been to stalactite cave formations in Spain, but this one was truly enormous. With its high ceilings and dim lanterns, it reminded me of Zion from The Matrix.
So according to the statistic of researcher, take about 1,000 years to make 1 centimeter.
I don't want to be a rusty suit of armor. Or a tumble-down, forgotten castle in your mind.
Our next stop was Hue, known for its ancient imperial city, temples, and unique local culture.
It's day 4 of our Vietnam trip. This morning we woke up in Hue. Right now, Jack and Sang are at a coffee shop, and I just woke Justin up. It's almost 8 o'clock, which is so far going to be our latest start.
And we are on motorbikes. Jack, how do you feel this morning? Fantastic, okay. Yeah, we had some practice last night, and Sam just tried to teach me just now. And, well, let's just say I did better than Justin.
Yeah, that's a low bar. Go a little bit more. Start slowly.
Okay, so Sang was trying to give Justin lessons on how to ride a motorbike. And I am hopeful that he won't fall again.
This is good.
After breakfast, we went to yet another coffee shop before touring the imperial city.
Your arsenal.
Then, Sang took us to try local Hue foods.
So it looks like a shrimp in there. These are dipping sauces.
Next stop, a secluded pagoda. But first, we needed to refuel.
There are massive jackfruit here. We're trying to discuss whether we think it would float or sink in water and how much they weigh.
After exploring a bit, I climbed up to the bell tower and sat there to meditate. For a while, the sounds of the cicadas and wind chimes drowned out my thoughts. Eventually, I found myself thinking about the book Justin lent me, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. The book tells the story of a father and son journeying on a motorcycle across the American West, periodically breaking into the philosophical dives of a character named Phaedrus, who represents the father's former self. There's a really nice juxtaposition between the two narratives, and the book delves deeply into topics at the core of thought: existence, rationality, and what Phaedrus calls quality, or the Tao. Given the amount of time we spent on motorbikes, I joked that if I wrote a piece about this trip, it would be called Vietnam and the Art of Motorbike Travel.
It's like you're living in the Vietnam book.
After Hue, we headed to the coastal town of Da Nang.
When I saw you in the morning, you were on your way to work.
You're gonna go for a swim?
The way
Next up, Asian Park. The next day was maybe my favorite adventure of the trip. After a breakfast of banh mi and smoothies, we headed to the mountains north of the city. Lush green hills and winding roads made for a breathtaking ride. Our first stop was the Lady Buddha statue, which stands 220 feet tall and is visible from the city. Originally, we had planned to go paragliding off the peak, but we were told that our motorbikes were not allowed up, so we went to a beach instead. The walk down to the beach reminded me of the tropical jungles in Hawaii, with curving vines, bright flowers, and luscious leaves. We heard what sounded like a party going on, so we decided to venture over to the rocks. I didn't bring a swimsuit, but went in my clothes anyways. The water was so clear and felt amazing after a long ride.
Yeah, Sang and Jack! So we're having pizza and salad for dinner.
Oh, no, you're having grass.
We're taking a break from Vietnamese food. It's a mid-trip intermission, as Justin called it.
We moved around a lot during the next few days, spending a day in Hoi An, a day in Da Lat, and 2 in Nha Trang before our final stay in Saigon. I wish we spent more time in Hoi An with its charming riverside markets, museums, and cafes. We spent most of the day at a park called Vin Wonders, which had a water park, thrill park, and safari zoo all in one.
That is seriously... Yeah, I got that on video. These are 2 female elephants from this region in Vietnam in the Western Highlands, and they're both female and they're 50 years old, which is kind of crazy.
After we got back, the boys went to the spa while I got my hair done. By 8 the next morning, we were on our way to Da Lat.
Here we are on swan boats that are actually ridiculously hard to move. Like, Jack's moves go all the way up, basically to his chest, and we are going to exhaust our strength. Rate the duck boat experience.
It was good.
Anything to add, Jack?
I would never do it again.
Our next stop was the Dantala waterfall. By the time we arrived in Nha Trang, we were all pretty tired.
So, we've hit a wall.
After a quick swim at the beach, I wandered into a market and then a music store where the owner let me play the guitar for a while. For dinner, we went to this chain spicy noodle place that offered bowls on a scale of 1 to 7. Since Sang said he found the 3 spicy, I went for a 4.
Justin just ordered an 8, which is technically not on the menu.
Thank you.
We all tried the 8 and found it underwhelming. The next day, the boys went to another amusement park while I stayed in the city. After grabbing lunch, I wandered over to the Ponagar Temple, a Cham temple founded 1400 years ago. The atmosphere inside drew me to pray. Just before leaving, I happened on a Cham dance. Our last destination was Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City. Though they are both major cities, Saigon is very different from Hanoi. Founded at the turn of the 17th century, a whole 700 years later than Hanoi, Saigon has a modern feel. According to Sang, the population is younger and generally comes from other parts of Vietnam.
So we arrived this morning, went out for lunch, walked around. We went to the War Remnants Museum, which was honestly kind of a harrowing experience. I had no idea about Agent Orange and all the chemical attacks, which I think was something the museum really emphasized, as well as the different resistance movements, both in the United States and all over the world. That was an interesting part of the museum as well.
Something that I wondered about a lot in Vietnam was how people felt about the changes taking place. Did they view the tearing down of settlements on the outskirts of the city for new resorts, malls, and townhouses as progress? Did it represent wealth and opportunity, or merely the growing distance between rich and poor? Another book I read during our trip was Bill Hayton's Rising Dragon, which examines Vietnam's political system, economic development, and changing culture. A big takeaway for me from the book and the trip in general is that change is usually complex and uneven. But on the whole, Vietnam dazzled me. As Graham Greene wrote of the country, "They say whatever you're looking for, you will find here. They say you come to Vietnam and you understand a lot in a few minutes, but the rest has got to be lived." Thank you for following us along our trip. I hope you got a taste of this beautiful country.